After you.
Come on, man. Okay, let's get it popping.
First, fam, thanks for coming out. I want to thank Legends Only for letting us get in on this. This is quite a treat for us. I'm Anthony Pinn. I'm the Agnes Cullen Arnold Distinguished Professor of Humanities here, and I'm the proud director of the Center for Engaged Research and Collaborative Learning. With our friends, our partners at Fondren, we have a commitment to make certain that we do our part to preserve and to celebrate the history, the legacy, the sure enough depth of hip-hop culture. And so we are honored to have the teacher with us to have this conversation. We're going to talk for a little bit, and then I know you didn't come to hear me talk, so we're going to talk for a little bit, and then we'll let you ask your questions.
I came to hear you talk.
No, you didn't.
I got brain picking to do.
I'm looking forward to this. Now, I need to start with some of the questions I know you hear over and over and over again, so be patient with me, because we need to get this on the record. We need folks 50 years from now, 100 years from now to know this. So let me start with this. One of the things that has really impressed me is how you talk about your early introduction to hip-hop. Right? The idea that this 8-year-old couldn't pay that quarter to get to the jam, but then when DJ Kool Herc pulled it outside, you could get with it. So my question is this: what exactly about hip-hop pulled you in and kept you in?
Wow, that's a complicated question. Let me put it this way. You're speaking from an objective point of view. The beginning of hip-hop for me starts subjectively, meaning that we were never not hip-hop. With the moment, the era you speak of is 1973. I lived at 1600 Sedgwick Avenue in the Bronx. Kool Herc, our recognized father of hip-hop, lived at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue, about 2 buildings down. But the block, Sedgwick Avenue, had a park in it, had 2 projects, and a lot going on. And so we was always who we were. What you should keep in mind is that original hip-hop was a way to be. Everybody wasn't hip-hop. We was a small group of people whose voice was ignored. Like in the 70s, try to go back to 73, you got Nixon, Watergate either just ended or was getting ready to get wild, or in the middle of it. You have the Vietnam War, you have a heroin epidemic, you have poverty, obviously, housing is horrible. All of this is going on at the same time. Most people ask us how to rap, not why we rapped. And this part about why we rap points to identity. There's a group of kids in the Bronx that are just not being heard. Now there's other African Americans, Latino people, white people that are Asian as well, that are not being heard as well. But you have a way to be heard. You could join sports, you could go to college, join the army. There's paths for you to be heard in the 70s, but in the 70s, that path was the white mainstream. There was nothing else. What we call black culture today, which is so prevalent and all over the place, was not like that in the 70s. In the 70s, America was white, Christian, that was it. It wasn't all this Muslim and Buddhist and Hindu and it was this. So today it may be difficult for people to understand, like really understand what the 70s was like. But if you understand that little piece of the 70s, meaning we had an attitude about the environment we was in. And that attitude is what made us rap, what made us break. And in the history books, in dictionaries, encyclopedias, in the books we read today, the credit is given to Lovebug Starsky, a DJ named Lovebug Starsky. His partner was Chief Rocker Busy B. So these guys are the ones who popularized the term hip hop. They had it in the rhyme, a hip hop, shoo-wop, wop, take a look at your arm and check your watch, so that kind of thing, that hip hop. So I asked I asked Herc, I asked Busy Bee, and I asked Kaz, where do we come up with this term hip hop? Herc don't know. Kaz and Busy Bee said it was something about an army and hip hop, and somebody was going to the army, and that's where I got the term from, but Busy Bee couldn't remember. So I saw Lovebug Starsky about a year ago in Las Vegas. I asked Starsky, how did you come up with the term hip hop? First he said, I don't know, I just said it. It's just something we used to say. I don't remember. Then he said, I'm going to save my real answer for my documentary. So I'm like, yo, dude. I'm like, dude, I'm asking you a historical question. I'm going to save it for my documentary. Now, he was teasing because we was in a club, but he wouldn't give me the answer either. So here's the kicker now. After the show, I invite him on stage. We did a concert, whatever. Invite him on the stage. Yo, he does his thing, hip hop, zop, shoo hop. He tears the crowd up. It's wonderful. After the show, he emails my wife. He says, he texts. He says, if I die tonight, I die a happy man because I performed with KRS-One. This is Lovebug Starsky. 2 weeks later, he's dead. Massive heart attack, dead in a hotel room somewhere. He gone. So now I'm like, damn, I never got the story. Okay, my man was just there. I never got the story. So I'm thinking about mediums now. I'm thinking about how can I talk to my dude right now? How can I do? Lo and behold, he must have heard us doing some research, another colleague of mine doing some research. We come across this record by the Last Poets called Black Soldier. And in this record, Black Soldier, 1972, December 31st. Now, how do you drop a record on New Year's Eve anyway? Okay. But this is what the record, in the record, it's hip hop, hip hop, hip hop, like this. So I go back to Busy Bee and I say, B, where did you come up with this? He said, I heard it from the gangs. They were saying it. Reach into the gangs are listening to the Last Poets. So the Last Poets are influencing the gangs and everybody, and really what we call organizations, because it was the Black Panthers, it was others that were in the neighborhood. So the Last Poets is speaking to this particular community.
So let me ask you to help me wrap my mind around something, because you made an important distinction, right? There's hip hop, capital H, one word.
Yes.
There's hip hop, capital H is two words.
Yes.
There's hip hop, two words, small h. Now, small h you said is music.
Yes.
Capital H is two words. That is the four core elements.
Yes.
And then there's hip hop, one word. Just help me wrap my mind around that. Help me understand the distinction.
First of all, your scholarship is brilliant.
I knew how I was coming to talk with you. I had to be prepared.
This is amazing, because what you're getting into now is the actual scholarship of hip hop in and of itself, meaning that instead of discussing, like when we say we're going to give a hip hop course or give a hip hop class, or we're going to teach hip hop, let's say, most people start with rappers. It's an easy subject, they're right in your face, you can pull from a variety of pieces. But to discuss rappers and DJs and other performers is not the discussion of hip hop. Hip hop is hip hop before we get to anybody's performance, before we get to any celebrity, what is hip hop in and of itself? So this begins the scholarship. Now, what you were leaning to was one of the first ways in which we approach hip hop. People, the spelling of hip hop is very important, because we're dealing with culture, not just a music genre. Now, I don't know why people spell music genres in lowercase letters. I don't know why that is. It's a grammatic sort of cultural rule, but I don't see anything in grammar that says you have to spell R&B with lowercase or reggae with lowercase, but they get spelled in lowercase. They're music genres. Hip hop is a culture, full-fledged global culture, way to be, lifestyle, even our own dialect, everything. But we're still being spelled in lowercase. In dictionaries that even call us culture, like the American Heritage Dictionary, Oxford English Dictionary, Merriam-Webster, these dictionaries, they list us, but they list us in lowercase. That's a disrespect to the culture. Hip-hop is a proper noun. It's the name of our culture. So you're supposed to start the spelling of hip-hop with a capital H, lowercase IP, space, capital H, lowercase OP. That is the proper name of the culture. Now, you got to fight for that, though, because we're talking about muscling in on the cultural terrain. And it's difficult for cultures to be born because other cultures swallow them up quick. They can destroy them, they can ignore them. It's hard for culture to stay intact. So little things like this, back to identity and existence, these metaphysical terms, being.
And I want to get in that.
Okay, well, but this is the essence of it right here, that when you spell hip hop correctly, you align yourself correctly with the subject in which you're speaking. If you was going to talk about America or write about America, you wouldn't spell it in lowercase. It's the name of a nation. But if you don't recognize America as a nation, you see it as a clothing line or something. You could put it as a small a or something, or some activity. America is an activity. So you put it as a small a, as a verb, that kind of thing. That's not what we're dealing with. So hip-hop as consciousness, we look at hip-hop as consciousness, culture, and commerce. These are the 3 C's. Consciousness, culture, and commerce. So consciousness, hip-hop is spelled with a capital H, I-P-H-O-P, one word. It looks like high-fop, but it's hip-hop. Second spelling, as we pointed out, capital H, lowercase IP, space, capital H-O-P, lowercase OP, that's the name of the culture. That's the correct spelling of it. Then you get lowercase HIP, space, or dash, some people put a dash, HOP, all lowercase. That's rap music entertainment. That's
y'all get that?
That's rap music entertainment. That is the music genre of us. And like I said, I still don't know why people spell music genres in lowercase, but we follow the trend. In fact, the spelling of hip-hop in lowercase is usually how these other institutions are approaching our culture. They're not approaching us as culture, they're approaching us as a music genre. So in our how would I say, lexicon, in our language, in our coded dialect, it still matches because of the way you're coming at us. You still looking at this as a music genre. We got ways to wear our hair, ways to do our clothes. We got a whole business too, which we should get into as well. Hip hop is a huge business that our children should have access to. Please.
And I want to, when you come back, we're gonna dig deep.
Oh yes, indeed.
But I want to get into your urban inspirational metaphysics. And what kind of blows my mind is when you talk metaphysics, you don't simply mean the Western tradition, right? That you're talking about words, about divine speech. And that's significant. And so I do want to deal with that. And I want to start with, on numerous occasions you have said that hip hop is life. But folks need to recognize what you mean by life. It's not simply biological function, right? And I wrote it down because I'm gonna get this right.
Come on.
Love, information flowing eternally is life. So you got to break that down for us.
Wow. The word hip means to be aware. And I'm saying this because people put all types of meanings on hip-hop, but if you get down to the essence of it, the word hip means aware. It means I'm hip, I'm up on it, I understand. It's a form of cognition. You understand, it's a form of intelligence. Hop is springing up, leaping forward. This is all hip hop is. An intelligence leaping up. Hip hopping. Do you know why you move? That's what hip hop asks of us. Hip. Are you aware of your hop? Are you hip to your hopping? Do you know why you move? Who's moving you? This was the first lesson we learned in terms of self-determination, self-existence. We were no longer moved by society, so we was able to look at it. Our parents were immersed in society, so they couldn't see it. They did everything they could within the society, and they did great work, but they couldn't see outside of it. There was no other paradigm. Here comes their kids who saw outside. First were being rejected, pushed you outside. Now you can see there's something else other than what's going on here now. So being aware, hip, aware, hop movement, we stripped off all labels. This is the key.
Don't let labels label you.
Don't let labels, these are just coats. If you strip yourself down to the final, just no name, no title, nothing, no mother, father, son, uncle, any social title, strip yourself of it. You'll get right down to just being intelligence, moving. Just it. This is just stay right here. All we are is some sort of understanding on the move. Now, if we could go back to that consciousness, we unite all of humanity. The concept of race is an illusion. I don't have to say that to Rice. You guys know what it is. This is a social construct. So why are we sitting here? Now look at this, look at the insanity, because hip hop deals with that insanity, okay? We know as educated people that race is false. It's a social construct. It's society. It's even could be cultural. We know it's not real. Yet, here's Black History Month. Here's race. Hip hop has a whole different view of this. And this is when I come back to urban inspirational metaphysics, because no, we're not talking about Western metaphysics. In fact, we're not talking about that at all. Because Western philosophy is stolen. That's the first thing you gotta understand. The entire thing. Like, I'm gonna go slow. I'm gonna go slow.
Repeat
here.
You got to repeat that.
Let me say, because it's difficult. There may be philosophers in the room right now. You guys may be spending money. The whole concept of Western philosophy is stolen and thus fake. Yep. Once you studied all these, I wasted 20 years of my life studying these philosophers. I don't mean wasted my life, wasted time. Okay, Aristotle, Rene Descartes, Francis Bacon, these other dudes, idiots, all of them. Okay, every last one of them. Idiots. And I say that humbly. Straight idiot. Here's why they're idiots. Because out of all the subjects to study, out of every subject known to the human mind to study, philosophy deals with the truth. Out of every subject the human mind could possibly know, this one subject, this one wants to know what's real, what is truly going on now.
So that's human education against lies.
Yes, that prompted that whole movement. Yes, it did. Yeah. Human education against these lies.
That is, let me get at this. So your ability to speak across audience types without losing a beat is impressive. And one of the things that stood out for me was a sermon, and I'm gonna call it a sermon you gave at Hillside. You had the folks shouting.
Oh,
at Hillside. And the thing that stood out for me is you told these folks, look, get the gospel right. The gospel has to be understandable to every life form.
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
Because it's love.
Right.
And then you said that the gospel of hip hop is love. And you know, that triggered for something for me. One of my favorite thinkers is that North African Albert Camus, who says, absurdity is king, but love saves us from it.
Wow.
So it seems to me, if he had lived past 1960, he could get with you. Or Richard Wright, if he had lived past 1960, he could get with you. Or Zora Neale Hurston, if she had lived past 1960, could get with you in terms of this idea of love. But give me a fuller sense of what that really entails and how that kind of love gets expressed through hip-hop as consciousness, hip-hop as life. Or on other occasions, you said hip-hop is the fountain of youth.
It is. I'm 59 right now.
Me too. Me too.
Hey, brother, welcome. Hip-hop, first of all, with the fountain of youth piece, hip-hop is the fountain of youth, yes. Because first of all doctors will tell you that if you can get your heart pumping at about 120 beats per minute, at least 3 times a week, you're doing good. You could add 10, 20 years to your life. Just getting your heart ready, 120 beats a minute, 3 times a week. You could add 10 years to your life. Breaking does that. MCing does that. I'm doing concerts now. Matter of fact, one of the reasons I'm sweating right now is because my body is so used to sweating, which is actually healing. When you MC, you use both sides of your brain. When you MC, your whole body is involved, and you sweat and you move and you exercise. I see people my same age that can't even move. And I say, man, maybe you should have been an MC. I don't know, but it's the doctors say that I had 2 doctors tell me, as a matter of fact, that I have the heart of an athlete. And they say, well, what do you do? Because, I'm 6'5", and you swear, he plays basketball, you gotta be in sports. I ain't been in sports in 25 years. Okay, microphones, that's my sport. So, but look at this. The MC life gives you the body of an athlete. Think about that. The life of the MC, where you gotta lift stuff. If you're an original MC, you still lift your crates, you still lift turntables, you still take stairs. Hey, we tried to take stairs today.
You did.
We still take stairs. We still do. So your body is always moving, and if you're on tour, you're traveling. This too, kind of thing. Come back to the love. We did this for the love. This is what people fail to realize. Before the money, before the fame, before all of that, the first thing we did this for was the love of ourselves first. We were not being heard. We heard ourselves. We said, listen, we love ourselves. We know we exist. They corny, not us. So this was the attitude, a love for self. Now next man comes, woman, your friend, your homie, come with the same love. I love this too. I love you. I love how I am. I love how you are. This is it. Now 2 people are down. 3, 4. This love was shared. Now look at this. There were gangs in the community doing madness, okay? Violence, gang fights, so on. When the love came into the community, all that went away. And I mean, went away. There should be movies done on this. How actually organizations, starting with Black Panther Party, when they fragmented, there's never really been a really good take on what happened after the Black Panthers fragmented, because that starts the gang culture. After Black Panthers fragment, everybody wanted to be a Black Panther. So they started up everybody started their own thing up. And keep it real, the Black Panthers, I wouldn't call them a gang, but they were gangsters straight up, okay? The PBS special we looking at is not the Black Panthers, okay? I say that respectfully. I know what PBS does. I know what they trying to do. But for those of us on the ground that was actually sitting at the table waiting for that little sandwich they used to give us and the cold chicken wrapped up in the thing, for us, Nah, them dudes was straight gangsters. We was sitting there like, you didn't talk back, you didn't act out, it was none of that. You was in that building, you was learning, you was eating, you was doing your thing. So there was a love, another form of love. The gang culture is where the love was found. It's called gangs today because that's the mainstream term, but it's not. It's little families of people coming together. But now what happens is that the families have beefs in the family and with other families. And so now you get this gang warfare, and it's going on today. This is part of human nature for us to tribe up and fight against each other. This is a lower part of our nature, but nonetheless, you can see it with the breakup of the Black Panthers all the way up to Israel and Gaza. This is all gang warfare.
And I want to get back to this issue of identity. My favorite track, my favorite track is Why Is That?
Yeah.
Right? And in part because of the way in which you break down how white racism, and you don't use white supremacy, right? White racism gets played out through these sacred texts, right? And you reinsert a population that has been ignored. But then you blow my mind, because then you say hip-hoppers need to realize that they may not be from Asia or Africa, right? That they may be from a different galaxy or a different
dimension altogether.
Come on, you got to say a little more on that.
Right, well, start with the Africa. Me, I'm a Pan-Africanist. Let me establish that, okay? Straight up and down. Africa should be for Africans. Let's just start there. However, when you dig into the truth, Africa's a Roman title given to the continent. We never called ourselves Africans. The Muslims called us Al-Qibulan. They called the place Al-Qibulan. Romans called it Africa. Greeks called it Ethiopia. What did we call it? It was just home. It's just home, right? Now, you call home a lot of things, okay? You call home a lot of stuff, okay? And so think about this. Original African mentality didn't understand a continent, a country, a nation. These are colonial titles. So when you could somehow step out of imperialism, and imagine you gotta fight because we're all assimilated to colonialism. So the spirituality of it is instead of saying the devil, say George Washington. No, seriously. Seriously. If you really want to solve the issue, you can't take on the character of a colonist. This is the new spirituality, not a man in the sky, or even prayer, meditation, yoga, ghosts. Sorry, it did not work. This is what philosophers look at. Going back to the previous question, philosophy, is it real? I want to know if it's real. I want to know if it's real. I want to know if it's real right now. And what is real? What's real? The religions of the world have failed humanity. That's real.
Okay.
That's it. You failed. Now, if we could just step with the truth, you failed. Hinduism, you failed. Judaism, you failed. Christianity, you failed. Islam, you failed. All of you failed. Now, if we could deal with the truth, we could come up with something better.
Okay.
And the better, keep this in mind, the better is worse than what we got. Listen to what I just said. The better is worse. Look at this, because the worse is all these religions claiming a God, all fighting amongst each other. Humanity's still screwed up. They claim in divinity. It's a joke. But if the better, here's the better. No one of us have the answer. But all of us together got the answer. Okay. But now here's where it's worse. Can the Muslim admit that Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior? Can the Christian admit that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon his name, is the only prophet to exist? Can the Buddhists believe in God?
That's deep. Dr. Matthews, do I have time for 2 more questions before we open it up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So first question, 1994 is significant.
Yes.
In 1994, you make a public pronouncement.
Yes.
I am hip hop.
Yes.
Now, so for me, what this suggests is you, in a very public fashion, become a steward of hip hop.
Yes.
Right? And that you are following in the lineage of Africa Bambaataa.
Yes.
A steward of hip hop, preserving, teaching, illustrating, correcting. And so here's my question, right? So there are folks, hip hoppers, who are doing this, and then it seems to me there are a host of others who are trying to get on this. So you've got folks like Nelson George or Greg Tate, Harry Allen.
Oh, yes.
Trisha Rose.
Oh, yes.
Who are in so most of these folks are doing their thing in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. Who in 2024 would you say represents the stewards of hip hop?
Wow. I think your question is in the future.
Okay. Okay.
I think your question is future. We have not reached there yet.
Okay.
To even answer that question. I appreciate your words toward me, but in the scheme of your question, even I am not a steward.
Okay.
Real hip hop has not been discussed yet.
Okay. Okay.
We just got up to the 50 years. Keep this in mind. Let me just give you a little background, okay? I am hip hop's historian, officially, okay? We did our meetings in the early days with Africa Bambaataa, Kool Herc, Flash, Theodore, Crazy Legs, all of us, okay? Every pioneer we got together. You mentioned 1994. In 1994, we took our meeting of the minds. It was the first time all of us met to discuss hip hop as culture. In that meeting, I was called Master Teacher, and I was supposed to go out, write the history, find out what was going on, erect a temple, all of this type of stuff. So I took on the challenge with the support of everyone. We got the knowledge down, we got everything, but as we started to go into culture, not commerce, not just who Herc was, who Bam is, not just those stories, but we started looking at how do you transfer a way to be to your children? How do you transfer a culture to another generation and try to keep it intact at the same time? So this led us, led me for that matter, to consider language, government, pretty much everything that I was against. I'll show you this. Me, I'm railing against government. When we actually did the research, we realized that the way to preserve culture is through government. And this is a bad taste in my mouth. Okay, this is the philosopher. You have to follow the truth, not your ego, not what you think or even what last week's knowledge was. Monday, I thought it was this. I had evidence and proof. Friday, it's refuted. What you gonna do? Stay on Monday? No, you have to change your view to this. Me, I'm like, sound of the police. Okay, the police are my #1 fans. Deal with the truth. Black cop, black cop, black cop, black police officers, #1 fan. I was just in Dallas. Black Latino police officers. I jump out, I just did. Sound of the police was screaming it, okay? Get off the stage, 3 Latino cops. Yo, I need that picture. Yo, I gotta get this, this what it. And so when you look at that preservation of culture, you can't look at race, you can't look at uniform, you can't look at any of the things you put on yourself to represent society. You gotta look at the heart of the person themselves. And when you speak to the heart, not so much the mind, speak to the heart, then you understand the culture. Come back. That took us 50 years, from 73 to 2023, to understand our heart.
Okay.
We didn't understand. We were all mind. We were all mind. Here's a quick example of the heart versus mind. We're in a university. So the mind in a university can teach hip hop as culture. Any professor that has done his homework or her homework can teach any subject. You do your homework, you teach the subject. You can master any subject and teach it. That's the mind. That is academia. That's how you learn and teach. But if you're representing a culture, the rules change a little bit. Yes, you still have to study, you still got to do your homework, but you're representing a culture. So what does that mean? Knowledge is not just taught, knowledge is passed on. So this is the piece that the university system needs to begin to embrace. The university system is all mind, okay? But you have no connection to the Bronx. If you're teaching hip hop in any university, okay, and this is what makes this meeting here so important right now in history, because I humbly say, like I said, I am hip hop's official master teacher. It is a burden, okay? I am not bragging about this. I got to do with some crazies, okay? This is what it is, right? Boom. But there are professors, teachers, even other artists that are teaching hip hop courses and they never met me. They never met me. Now you're legitimate. You can teach. You can do your thing. But I hold the culture. The certification that I give you is the culture's approval of your teaching. You don't get that nowhere. Okay, that don't go nowhere. It's a passing on. I first had to sit with Herc. And Herc, if anybody knows Herc, this dude, okay? He's a family member, but he's difficult. Okay? Herc. It's my brother, actually my father in culture. Herc, okay? You gotta sit there with Herc. His sister Cindy, wonderful woman. Actually, Cindy is the one that started hip hop because it was her that threw the jam. She only brought her brother in and said, DJ real quick for me, and he took all the fame and the light. But Cindy is the one that put the jam on. You gotta know Cindy. We say Africa Bambaataa, but Jazzy J is the one that threw the records on. You gotta know Jay. You gotta know Red Alert. Chill out. These dudes. I'm traveling right now with DJ Cash Money from Philadelphia. This is the champion DJ of the world. Okay, this dude is nice with his. Now, as DJs, as we travel, there's other DJs that are better than him. But when he shows up, those DJs that are better than him say, yo, Cash Money, let me get a photo with you. Yo, Cash Money, sign this. Yo, this is the culture. I may be smarter than you. I may be richer than you. I may have a bigger institution than you. But I recognize who you are in this. Okay. And so in this, now we're passing culture on. We're passing it on. Here, just me being here, okay? Just me being here in this room and we talking just like this, you're validating Rice University right now. I mean, the validation's crazy because you have I should be applauding you. The validation is crazy because here you have the steward of the culture, and I want to get back to that. The steward of the culture, that's who you decided to talk to. Now, I'm the one that holds the certifications for the culture itself. We have the signatures, everybody. I'm gonna give you one anyway.
I appreciate you.
I'm good. You gotta get this. You got to get this, but we have a course called a Hip Hop Cultural Specialist course. You already took it. If the way you're speaking to me, you already took the course. But we have this course that makes you a hip hop cultural specialist. One more piece to put on this about transference of culture through academia in that sense is that our children need jobs. Yeah. And matter of fact, let me not even say jobs. They need work. Work is more connected to your purpose in life. You know, a job is a job. You do a job well done. But work, dignity in work, finishing your work, knowing what your work is. That's what our children are missing today. And shamefully enough, you know, every once in a while I like to put my African American hat back on, and notice what I said. Every once in a while I like to put my African American hat back on. And I like to look at my people and I say, yo, listen, you know, as the youth of us, I have a saying that I think helps our people, which is that when younger people listen to older people, they move faster. And when older people listen to younger people, we move faster. The problem is nobody's listening. And listening is more than just hearing you speak. Listening, for me to hear you, I have to set myself aside. And this concept of setting yourself aside to hear the view of the other one is what the whole country needs to learn right now. Is that I give it just to African American youth. Don't be afraid of nothing you hear or see. Expand your consciousness. Expand your understanding. People think that intelligence means reading a lot of books and you become intelligent. That's nothing. Intelligence is understanding. That's all intelligence is understanding. The more you understand, the more intelligent you are. But it's a simple thing. Do you understand the Klansman? Yeah. Do you understand Israel's position? I don't. But do you? Can I expand my mind to understand Israel's position, to understand Gaza's position, to understand Ukraine's position, to understand Russia's position? Do the history of that whole region. You come out on Russia's side if you did the history. They only taking back land, it was I. But can we have those discussions where I don't agree with you? I'm never going to agree with you, but I understand. I do understand, though, and not a fictitious like Marcus Garvey, famous meeting with him and the Klansmen. Everybody, you know, NAACP, they fighting from a distance. Garvey went right up to the Klan. Met with the grand jury. He was criticized crazy for it. But look at the solution. And now black folk Garvey taught such a brilliant lesson with his life. I don't think he was trying to teach it, but here's the lesson. The white racist says, go back to Africa. You get upset. Garvey said, go back to Africa. You packing your bags. So you got to think for a minute. Wait a minute. What's racism? What is this? What am I really feeling? A white man is telling me about myself and he's degrading me. He's saying, yo, why don't you black people do this and that? Why don't you black? And I'm calling him racist. I don't understand. He's not at fault. I'm at fault. This is another human being with an intelligence. Okay? I may not agree with how you coming at me, but let me try to understand first. Let me just first try to get your point. What's your point? Well, I think da-da-da and da-da-da and da-da-da. So then I went there. I said, man, right. You know what? How much stuff in the black community we don't even need no more. But we make us feel good. Other communities looking at us like, what the fuck? How you do that? How you acting like that? Other communities looking at us crazy. There's a list of stuff that black folk are doing right now that other communities are looking at us like these dudes is crazy, and we're going to exploit them on their insanity. And so I just say that the ability to understand, which let me bring it down to the ability to listen. If our children could learn to listen, if the elected officials can learn to listen, just listen, don't talk, listen. And when you listen, you hear the solution. Because if you're willing to expand your heart and say, you know what, I don't agree with what you did, I don't agree with your history, but let me try to understand why you felt it was important to colonize the United States. And when you have the discussion, I had a discussion with a CIA agent one time about torture. And he said, Chris, nobody gets away with that. As a matter of fact, I think CNN years ago had something similar to this, where a CIA agent confessed that all that waterboarding and all of that stuff. Yeah, you see the blurb on TV, they waterboarded them, all these, but then that CIA agent that did that act, they messed up. They go back to their house and they got to take pills or something to get that off them. You can't execute a person and walk away. Mm-hmm. You can't, torture a person, hear the cries, hear the screams, see the pain, and then walk away. No, every human has a soul, and that soul checks you. And we don't see the check. We don't see the check, we only see the posturing. Mm-hmm. Oh yes, this Klansman coming in on horse, or the black man getting whipped against a tree. But when you do the real history, right after that whipping went down, the wife of the slaveholder left him.
See, this is deep. I already had 16 questions for you. That lesson added about 20.
No doubt.
So when you come back, now you'll see how I'm speaking that into reality, right?
Yes, indeed.
When you come back, we'll dig deep.
Yes, indeed.
So one more question from me, and then we'll open up for a few questions. So you have consistently, over the decades, talked about the transformative potential of hip-hop culture. One word,
yes.
Hip-hop culture.
Consciousness.
And so I'd like you to talk just briefly about two developments. Because I study religion, so I got to deal with the spirituality, right? So if you could say a few words about the temple of hip-hop, but also the UN 2001 declaration.
Yes.
Just tell us a bit about those two.
Right after the 1994 meeting, we realized that hip-hop needed its own space. The argument was, if hip-hop is $1 billion culture, and it was in 94, imagine every year from 1994, hip-hop has produced $1 billion. Imagine that. Well, we're not getting none of the money. Our community's suffering and blah, 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 blah. So in 94, we met on that. And we said, what's the point? Now, a couple of years later, I did the research. I realized I had to do research into the IMF and how countries are financed. And I realized that hip hop is it's not receiving its own value because hip hop doesn't have its own space. Everything that you see that is hip hop comes through something. And when it goes through something, that something siphons its wealth. So what you're getting is the waste, really, the end result, the exhaust of hip hop, while the real value is kept by whoever is presenting hip hop. So we came up with this scheme, and it was a scheme. The scheme was that we need to build a space for hip hop. Now, Kool Herc said we need a complex. We need an actual building that is hip hop. So we wrote that down. Then we got into a conversation about hip hop's own space, and so I came up with this concept called hopia. And hopia is just like you have Chinatown or Little Italy, these little sections of places in cities that exemplify cultures, specific cultures. A little Armenia, in Brooklyn they got a little Caribbean, but you could go there and get that culture in that section of town. So I've been going to governors, senators, mayors, and putting a proposal on their desk for hopia. Give us a dilapidated section of your town, and let's turn it into hip hop. Change the street names, this kind of thing. And we bring investment in, tourism, the entrepreneurism, like the people already in the city get to meet international people, business is created now. So we took this to Virginia, we took it to California, I took it to New Mexico. They all got problems. They all, oh, well, maybe, we'll see. Oh, great idea, I'll get back to you, all of this. At the end of the day, Mayor Ross Barack of Newark, New Jersey took the idea. Mayor Ras Baraka. We put the proposal on his desk. He read it. He came in. We had to meet him in City Hall. Met him at Newark City Hall. He had his Adidas on. He said, yo, this I read. He loved the concept. And the Chief of Staff, Midi, I got to shout out Amiri Baraka Jr. As well there as well. And keep in mind, look at the name, Amiri Baraka Jr. These are the two sons of Amiri Baraka, the poet, civil rights poet, Amiri Baraka. His two sons became mayor and chief of staff of Newark. So in that, we saw the prophecy fulfilled. We said, okay, we see Amiri Baraka coming in. His two sons are right there. The new arc, Newark. Newark is also called Brick City. Latifah come out of there. Naughty by Nature, Redman, Whitney Houston, all types of people come out of Newark, New Jersey. So we saw how the ancestors were moving us. We looked at that, we saw that, so we went. Now, that's going to be called hip-hopia. The South Ward section of Newark is going to be called hip-hopia. We're still building it now. We just got started. In the South Ward area. In that South Ward area, we started a temple because we have to teach the surrounding community how to take on international people now. Because keep in mind, it was such a brilliant idea from the mayor. I have to give him the vision because I came with a proposal and he just blew it out and said, this is what we need, this is what the city needs, this is what it is. And keep in mind, Newark is coming up unto itself. Lionsgate, the film company, bought mad land out there. They building a film studio in Newark. Newark International Airport just got $100 million from American Express. They're doing the roads over. The city's really rising. And I tell you this, on this level, now me, I'm not a political guy like that. You're not gonna catch me railing for voting and all that. Nah, sorry. However, when the truth is in front of you, for years, I was against voting. I think the whole system is a joke, to be honest with you. Especially with the Electoral College. That's a joke, okay? What are we doing really? Does anybody's vote really count? I know mine don't, okay? So this is what it is. However, when you get into politics and you start talking to real people, they sound like you. No, you're not hearing me. The people in government sound like me. Okay, now I didn't notice it. I'm saying this for young people too. Those that are protesting all this stuff. When you out there protesting stuff, the government's with you. Think about this. Don't look at TV. Forget the television. That's all hype. The real people working at FBI, CIA, NSA, DEA, all the health areas, agriculture, measures and weights, and all of the departments of government, all of them think just like you. And they're sitting there frustrated with their own with their job. They're saying, man, we should be doing this, we should be doing that, we should be going here, but can't do it. Red tape, bureaucracy, this one got to get in the office first, that one's leaving. There's things that got nothing to do with anything. So they can't do nothing. So that changes my view about voting. Here's me, I'm a staunch anti-voter. Staunch. I got facts. I could totally convince a person not to vote. Straight up. But in the face of the truth is more elected officials are running on hip-hop and winning offices. The truth is, it was a man in political power that was able to put hip-hop in this position. He had to get voted in. Okay? I could say whatever I want about voting, but if hip-hop ever had a voting block, if some reason CNN had to say on election night, well, we got the white vote's coming, and the black vote is at 63%, and the hip-hop vote is at this percent, he's really gonna need the hip-hop vote to really go over this next leg. Or he's really...
Yeah.
In the face of that truth, which can happen, I have to yield in my position. I have to yield in my position. And again, this goes back to intelligence and listening and wanting truth. I just told you, I'm not with voting. I'm not with it. But in the face of the truth, I'm with it. I'm with it.
All right. All right.
And I will be voting.
All right. All right, fam, we're going to open up for a few questions. Now, do me a solid. No speeches, no sermons, ask a question.
That's for me. You talking to me. No speeches.
So I'm going to ask the teacher to pick. So let's do about 3.
You know what? I see you, but let me start with the lady right here. I'll come right over here.
Okay. I just want to say thank you so much. I'm Mary Dean Esquire at thewallstreetlawyer.com.
Let's go.
And you taught me that Buddha was black.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that he had Bantu knots.
Oh, yes.
I did not know that.
Yes.
And so I wanted to first say thank you. My question is, how can I support hopia?
Yes.
And how can we get you to speak at Thurgood Marshall School of Law? Because
first of all, I would be so honored to even walk into the Thurgood Marshall School of Law. I had that. Obviously, my beautiful wife is somewhere here. Right there. She's right there. That's Simone. Yeah, right there. She'll bring me right through. No problem. In terms of support, it really, the first part of the support has to do with your own personal conviction. After you've heard what it is we discussed today, a lot was discussed in this way. Part of it, most of it, is intellectual support. The intellectual support is, some of you in this room are writers. Spell hip hop with a capital H. That's all. Some of you in this room also have influence in other areas outside of arts and entertainment. Bring hip hop with you. Bring hip hop into psychology. Bring hip hop into theology.
Yes.
Bring hip hop into science. Bring hip hop. And I say this, of course, in terms of the question the sister brought up in terms of support. This is the support. We have an intellectual fight to give. This is not a physical thing. This is about a character, a way to be. And if we forget this way to be, then the fight is lost. So the idea, oh, and by the way, so I'm going to leave this gentleman here, our illustrious professor, with what is called the Hip Hop Cultural Specialist course. And it's a master class. It's a 2-hour master class. I'll give you a flash drive. It's a master class, 2-hour master class. There's also a lecture on history, because something else we discovered, the writing of hip hop's history is not 73, 74, 75, 76, that linear history. Hip hop is super historical, which means that you could find hip hop's history in every aspect of the world. And this is the reason for this is because breaking, MCing, graffiti art, DJing has always existed in the world. We're only calling it this today. But when you go to the Aboriginals, I did a study there a couple of years ago, Aussies in Australia, but the Aboriginals there in Australia, they got dances from 70,000 years ago, dances that resemble breaking from 70,000 years ago. Graffiti art, the oldest form of human calligraphy. So if you take hip hop out of entertainment and put it in paleoanthropology, put it in religion, put it in astronomy even, put it in chemistry, like for instance hip hop hydrogen, iodine, phosphorus, hydrogen, oxygen, phosphorus. So you can look at hip hop. I did this with NASA. We did, see, I told you the speeches. Cut me off. I did this with NASA. With NASA, there's a guy named DJ Scientific working with NASA. I asked him, what does hydrogen, iodine, phosphorus make? And the hip hop, the name hip hop has water in it, phosphoric acid, and iodine. Now, what that is phosphoric acid is also in your stomach. It helps to burn the food in your stomach, but it's also used for fertilizer in the ground. So, and it cures it, mercurochrome and things that you put on for cuts and stuff. This is what the word hip hop in chemistry actually makes. We want to actually make hip hop in a bottle because hip hop in a bottle cures things. The iodine, the I in hip hop is a cure. Hip hop is made of water. It has 2 H's and 1 O. If you can take your culture and apply it to other things, you'll create other inventions outside of art. We did the arts and we did it well. Now let's go into science. Let's go into engineering. Let's go into law. Let's go into these areas because hip hop could be in all these areas. And again, what does it mean to be hip hop? Hip, I am aware of my movement. I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. And that's a deep lesson because it's lifelong. To know why you're doing what you're doing. You never stop questioning yourself on that, or at least you shouldn't.
See, they're going to have to wait till you come back to get the details on that. We got time for one more question.
Come on.
You pick,
You gotta cut me off. The gentleman right here, please.
Hi.
Please, no, please.
My name is Steven. I am a student DJ at KRS-One.
Yes, great. That's college radio.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I have a show called Sample Snitch where each week I break down a producer and their samples they use.
Okay.
And your talk has been so enlightening and it's sparked a ton of things in my head. And I want to ask you, in hip hop, what do you believe is the intersection between sampling other music and culture?
Right. There's a lawsuit out happening right now. There's a lawsuit out right now, and it's so funny because I'm at the center of it. And what happened was Kanye West sampled my record South Bronx. And South Bronx is on an album called Criminal Minded. Criminal Minded is an illegal album, as the title suggests, meaning that 3 or 4 different people claim ownership of it. None of them own the album. I own the album. But the contracts we signed and all of this gave permission to these other entities to sell the master recording. Now these entities also try to overstep and take the publishing from the record as well, because you have the master recording as you can sell, but then there's the publishing, the copyright, the ownership of the song itself. They try to take that as well. Kanye West sampled South Bronx. One of these companies sued Kanye West, claiming they own South Bronx. Kanye West called me and said, Chris, you own South Bronx, and on top of that, I had said publicly for many times and for many years, if you sample KRS-One, I will never sue you for anything. I believe in sampling. It is part of culture. However, I said, and this is what Kanye's telling me, he says, I heard you say this. I remember you saying we can sample your music. If you own it and you can sample it, you're not going to sue us. I said, yes, Kanye, you're right. I'm standing on that. What is the deal? He said, well, we sample South Bronx, and these dudes over here claiming they own it. So I took a deposition with Kanye's lawyers and said, no, they don't own nothing. Okay, I own everything outright, and I give permission to all of hip hop to sample any of my music for any purpose, for any reason. Now, wait. Now, just because I said that did not make it so. Now here's what happened, and it's a legitimate argument. So I claim full ownership. Now when I claim full ownership, Universal, which handles my publishing, claims ownership too. Mm-hmm. Now, we sampled the record. South Bronx is a James Brown sample. Those horns, got James' voice at the end. He's taking the publishing. South Bronx, to clear a record, just so you guys know, you sample a record, you got to pay the original artist. And throughout the life of the record, whatever happens to this record, the original artist get residuals off this record. Now, so even though I said you can sample me and I'm not suing you, James Brown can. Okay. No, James Brown can come up and say, no, Chris, you're bugging. You sampled my record. I want my money off your record. Not, I'm going to sue the people who are suing you. No, you're all looking at this record, okay? I'm James Brown. You excuse me. I want my share of this record. You could give your share away, but I want my share. It's a legitimate argument if you're sampling. So we began to talk about, when does sampling become legal and when does it become illegal? The latest discussion on this is that all artists should be able to sample music. Because right now, if you're home and you sample music, you're illegal. The minute you take a copywritten something, you got problems. We're saying you should be able to take any copywritten anything, but just before you sell it, that's what the dividing line is, the commerciality of the product. Mm-hmm. You should be able to do anything with anything as long as you don't sell it. The minute you say, this is for commercial use, then go get the record cleared. But what's happening now is, if a DJ throws a record on in a major, like let's say Rihanna's DJ, and I don't want to call Rihanna, she just came to my mind for some reason, but she's a major artist. Let's say she got a DJ on her thing. An artist like Rihanna or Beyonce, even Jay-Z, they have to write a set list out of the songs they're going to perform, because the artists that they used and all the samples, all that get paid out. All that get paid out. When we're on stage performing, the minute that song comes on, everybody involved in that song is getting money. Everybody. So, but that's for the major artists, and for guys like me, the lowly artists, we sometimes have to sign stuff or make a play. Sometimes they say, we're paying publishing tonight, what's your playlist? You give them your playlist, and every one of your songs goes into some database, and the club pays publishing, or the arena pays the publishing, and you get that money. So, to answer your question, bring it to an end.
Yeah, they ain't ready for all this.
No,
I've been told we have a little more time.
We're done. Do you get it? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Up until commercial.
Yeah, I've been told we have a little more time, so.
Oh, a little more?
Yeah, a little more.
Please, you was right there.
Greetings.
Thank you.
Brooklyn, Jersey.
Yes, indeed, Flatbush Avenue, Utica.
So I moved here 3 years ago, and I share a platform called Pop Night, Poetry of My Paint, with different artists from different levels.
Okay.
And he's actually one of my artists.
Nice.
And I try to talk to them about, preserving their, just their body and their minds
Right.
to be sharp, like yourself.
Wow.
What are your thoughts on that? What can you tell me to tell them how to, to just leave the drugs alone, or like some good advice, because they're all looking for mentorship and guidance?
One of the first things to look at is to know thyself, especially with health. Especially with health. There are things we know we should be doing. Drink water, exercise, keep the green leaves in your body, eat stuff that makes sense. Stay away from the fried food, this kind of thing when you can. This kind of thing. There's things we know we can do. But everybody's body is unique to them. And I tell you the truth, me, for many years, I leaned toward a vegetarian diet. I eat fish. Salmon is my go-to. And I eat like this for pretty much my whole professional career, for maybe 35 years. I'm leaning toward a vegetarian diet with little fish, do it like that. So I'm doing that 35 years. So I get into my 50s. And I realized, it was one time I don't know what happened. I kept traveling across country, stomach is ailing me. What happened? I must have breathed something, ate something, I don't know what it was. I'm throwing up. What's going on? What's happening? I'm like, what is wrong with me? Because when you are healthy and you don't get sick, when you get sick, it's like you're gonna die, okay? It's like, oh my God, what's going on? I've been sick for 10 years, 11 years, all of a sudden I'm throwing up. I'm like, what is going on? Something came to me. So eat oxtails. This is it. This is it. Just some. Keep in mind. Now watch it. Okay. Look at this. I have no intention whatsoever to eat any kind of beef.
Yeah.
And it just came. It was just like I'm sitting there like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? I'm taking all the herbal remedies. I'm hitting the water. I'm trying to get this. Some said eat oxtails. And it was so wild that I went to the Jamaican. And I got the oxtail. First time in 35 years, I ate the oxtail. Lo and behold, 5 hours later, I'm back. Look, you don't think things take a long time to heal? No. I ate this. About 5-6 hours later, I was up like this. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Hold up. The body used the meat as a cure. I don't eat meat. But every once in a while, the body says, eat this. Or do this. And it's that, our grandmother used to call it the still small voice. Mm-hmm. It's a still small voice. And to walk with that, I would first tell you to tell your students to look at that small voice, because it's not logical. It doesn't make sense, but it's always right. And a lot of times we don't listen to that voice and we regret it. You know how many times you say, something told me, but you're saying that because you didn't listen. You say, something told me to do this, but to go back and really recognize, what was that something that told me? What was that? So the first thing I would say, and of course with health as well, your body is your body, and you should listen to it. My mother-in-law is 82 years old, every day I knew her, she had bacon and eggs in the morning. And I mean that greasy bacon, that thick bacon in the morning, okay? Vegetarian over here, bacon in the pan, okay? 84, right, 84, Simone's mother. 84, okay? Kicking, moving, excellent artist. She's scoffing down the bacon every time she can get a chance. Doctors tell me, you need to stop. She's like, whatever. Let's just keep going. She's been living. She's doing well. I look at this and I say, look, in the face of the truth, you gotta look at the truth and just make your decisions based on that. Sometimes it's not gonna make sense, or make sense to you, or to your condition. But if it's right in your face, then you have to make an assessment on what's right there. So come back to the health. The first thing is your body is your body. I tell you the oxtail story only for those of us in this audience as well, that you may need to contradict yourself for health. Contradiction is not so bad. We don't like it. We want consistency. But every once in a while, especially when you get older, Simone and I was reading something about women actually getting older and needing more magnesium and iron, more so than men for that instance. So you figure a female vegetarian or a woman that practices vegetarianism, eating in that sense, when she gets older, you're going to need that B12 vitamin, the B12 complex vitamins. You only get B12 in beef. At least the portions of B12 that we need to survive, you only get it in beef. But you learn this as you get older. Some women after menopause, they figure out, what's happening to me? What's going on? The doctor gives you the pill, magnesium or whatever you're missing, iron, whatever it is. But you really at this stage supposed to be eating more meat. And even to go further with you, there's a deeper study that says that we should be eating grasshoppers, crickets, and spiders. This society does not allow us to eat. There used to be a show called Fear Factor.
Yes. Yeah.
And they touched on this concept of these weird things that you're trying to eat, and they prove that it's only in your mind. Squiggly little stuff moving around and stuff, but this is high in protein. And a doctor will tell you, the question is this: if I came to you with a roach, with 3 cockroaches in my hand, 3 cockroaches in my hand, and they said, but listen, if you eat this 3 times a week for 4 years, you're gonna live forever. Like you'll live to 200, you're gonna be 200, I need you to eat 3 cockroaches 3 times a week. Well, this is it. And this is the question. This becomes the question of health. In terms of health, your body knows what your body needs, and on another level, there's things that we should be eating that will help us, but the society does not allow us to eat these things, and it causes bad health. We only eat beef, chicken, and fish. Maybe veal or lamb, maybe. Some restaurants serve bison now, like this. But no snake, no cat.
There we go.
We're gonna leave them with them big ass Texas roaches. We're gonna leave them thinking about them roaches.
Oh, in Texas?
We have time for one more question.
Your roaches fly.
Oh yeah. They carry cars.
Listen, my man's jumping right here. Let's get him.
All right, so here's the deal. I'm a professor at UVA. I teach a class on prints.
Nice.
I like to introduce my students to different genres, like New Wave, rock, Little Richard, and all sorts of things. So I'm inspired by the day. What's a connection that you can introduce to me that I can introduce to my students? The connection between Prince and hip hop.
You know, I would, first of all, Prince always been down with hip hop. Everybody in hip hop know Prince. This dude been in and out of our culture like you can't imagine. Prince always was hip hop. Same thing with the time as well. When hip hop was first starting, you see Prince's whole style and Sheila E. And that whole style was a style of hip hop. Like punk rock was. Punk rock, the whole style of it used to be hip hop. That used to be part of hip hop. It's just that as hip hop became more commercial and got put in this particular box, the Sheila E. look disappeared, the punk rock look disappeared, other looks as well. There was like a rock and roll, not punk rock, but like a big hair look for a hot minute within hip hop. So come back to Prince. I would move more toward Little Richard in that sense, and I see the legacy you come in with as well. Prince, I'd add Michael Jackson in there as well. People don't realize how hip hop Michael Jackson was. Okay, in terms of being influenced by the street culture. When he did that moonwalk, when Michael did the moonwalk at the Motown 25th, I think that's what it was. Might have been it. Right, it was Motown 25th. When he did the moon, we was already doing the moonwalk 10, 15 years in the hood before him. He saw that, took it to the mainstream, but to be able to see that, you had to be in the hood somewhere, because that was not nowhere until Michael did it. So you got this group of people, you got Prince, you got Michael. I would even throw in Parliament Funkadelic, a different situation, but the same kind of vibe is going on right around this time. Little Richard is sort of the father of all of that in a lot of ways. Michael, even James Brown. Come on.
Rosetta Tharpe.
Say again?
Rosetta Tharpe.
She's the sister that kind of came up with the whole rock out and guitar.
Really?
People, yeah, there's a whole documentary on it that's really excellent. And Little Richard in the documentary on HBO mentions her a lot.
Yeah, they just had one on him, that's right.
So I kind of go through this whole flow. Rosetta Tharpe, Little Richard, and we start talking about funk, souls.
What Little Richard was doing on the piano is what we would eventually do on turntables.
Prince definitely lifted a lot from Little Richard.
Right, that's why I said exactly. But look at it. Be careful with the word lifted a lot.
It was inspired by.
But look, passing on of culture.
Exactly.
You're touching on it right there. No, we totally understand what you're saying in terms of being inspired, influenced, and so on. But in the context of this conversation here, no, the lineage by which you're coming, and we could probably go before Little Richard as well. But in terms of passing on of culture, this is one thing that we all tap into. And keep in mind that just because there's a Little Richard or a key figure that is the exemplification of this expression, remember that it's him or her or them and the audience. That's the culture. This is the difference between the commercial and the culture. The culture is all of us in the barn jamming together. Little Richard he's like the ringleader for what we all know is supposed to be happening. That's culture. Commerce or commercial, the commercial part of this is when you only focus on Little Richard and his commercial achievements. He's in a room full of people, but you only focus on him. You never focus on the people, how they got there, what his music meant to them, why they were listening to him, what they felt about him. Those are all cultural things. So And you see, I mean, obviously I commend you, you're doing your job, because actually to mention Prince and Little Richard in the same, many people don't go there, they can't make the connection, but I understand that connection. I see it as well. I grew up in it as well. So you see the connection, but come to hip hop, okay? Because Little Richard and Michael and, well, Prince is with us, but even Michael predates hip hop. You can see the vibe of hip hop starting, at least the entertainment part, the arts of it. You can see it in the 50s, 60s. Today, I'm sorry, 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, before hip hop, bebop, or actually doo-wop, bebop. All of these are precursors to what we're doing, and there'd be no us without them.
On that note, you're gonna have to leave them wanting more. Now, when you come back,
not cutting me off.
When you come back,
yes,
they can get some more.
You got
But
it.
fam, please join me in thanking, showing some love to KRS-One, the teacher.